Hi, this is Nancy Ralphsma with On Point TV, and we're doing our second live video of the year 2020. We did about 9 months ago a Quilt as you go log cabin live video, and so this is what it looked like. I used the really fun Wonder Woman fabrics, and it turned out really well. I love the way it turned out, and we got a lot of people that viewed it, a lot more than I thought would view it, honestly. It was a long video, about 50 minutes, but I need to tell you about that because there's been a lot of comments, people going, how do you put the rows together? In the video, I show you how to put the blocks together, but I actually never showed you how to put the rows together. I kind of talked about it a little bit, but generally speaking, people want to see it happen. Well, truth is I never did put the rows together on that one. This is 9 months old. Like, laugh at me like as if you don't have a million UFOs that you started 9 months ago, which would be kind of funny. All right, when you make comments this time, I want to know how many UFOs you think you have in your quilt studio. You beginners will not understand this, but trust me, once you start quilting a while, the word UFO will be a common language for you. So I want to show you how to put the rows together today. So we're going to first just start here. This should be a rather quick video, but if you've ever watched our videos, you know that I might say rather quick and then, an hour later, we're done. So this is the block that I put together. Now to put the rows together, just like the blocks, we need to take the backing fabric and move it away from the quilt. So in order to do that with the log cabin, sometimes one entire row will be free because this happened to be the very last log that went on this block. But I did have to unstitch where I put the block together. So you can see that not only did I unstitch, but then I went back and I hand stitched this seam back, and then on the backing where I had done the hand stitching to keep that together, I just did it for the backing layer. But now I'm getting to here, and this seam is preventing me, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. This seam is preventing me from being able to fold this up. So I'm going to take my seam ripper. So this is one of the fancy ones that Gina makes. So if you're interested in one of the fancy seam rippers, it's a seam ripper on one side and all on the other, you can go to our website, onpoint-tv, under shop, and then Gina has some there for sale, and if there's a special color you like, just be sure to tell her. So I'm coming back to this seam. I'm going to take out a few of those stitches all the way back to that log. Now when I'm taking this out, that means that I am also unstitching the log from the front side. So I will have to go back, and really for the most part it's going to be like applique. So first let me show you this. So now that can come all the way away. Going to pin it out of the way. Sorry, I think I just put my finger in everybody's face. Excuse me. Okay. And then let me show you the front. On the front, right here, this log is now unstitched. I will have to go back and hand applique that. Normally, I would do it right now, but I don't want you to have to sit and watch as I hand applique that. So I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to put a pin this way so it will hold it while we're doing this next step. All right. So on this one, I have folded back the backing. Now I'm going to position it on top of the other block and put lots and lots of pins in there. So I'm looking here, I've got my seams. There we go. This is rather bulky. Oops, excuse me, Athena's got to back up a little bit. Otherwise you're going to just be looking at my knuckles. All right, there. Going to do lots of pins, and remember, because we have all of that extra batting, there's 2 layers of batting. On this, I think there might be 3 to 4 layers of fabric depending on where the seams are. So you want to use lots of pins. You're going to want to sew this with your walking foot on. When you see me sewing it, it'll not look like I have a walking foot on. I'm going to use my 1/4-inch foot, and that's because I have a FAF sewing machine, and my FAF sewing machine has a built-in even feed behind the foot, and I'll show you there once we get there. All right, couple more pins. Now I'm going to take and we're going to sew 1/4 inch from the edge. So let me move the table and then Athena can come on in. All right. So we're right here. So like I said, I am going to be using my 1/4 inch foot. This is on my FAF sewing machine. But you can see back here, the FAF, this is the FAF Performance Icon. I got to get a really fancy sewing machine because I've been very, very blessed. So this is the built-in walking foot. So that's why I don't have to have that big square one. But if you do, you're going to need to put your large walking foot on. Gonna start sewing. I do want to do a back stitch here. I want it to be nice and secure, which is not something that we do normally in quilting. If you watch most of my videos, you'll see that when I start seams, I don't do any back stitching at seams. It's not a normal quilting technique. But when you're doing something like this, where there's so many layers, it is just going to help in the long run if you will just do a little bit of a back stitch. I'm going very carefully over these pins. They are a ball head pin, but they're the small ball head pin. This is the glass ball head pins from Clover, which is my favorite patchwork pin. I think it's just right. It's just the right length, and I love the glass head pin on it too. All right. And you can also imagine that if you were doing a quilt that had more than just 2 blocks, this particular process would become a little bit heavy. All right. When you're actually sewing these together, you might find that it's a little bit heavy. So just be prepared for that if you're doing a larger quilt as you go. Again, I'm going to do a back stitch and come back forward and cut my thread. All right, now we're going to go back to the ironing board, and I'm going to have Athena just stay right there a second. I'm going to reach over top of her. There, I needed to get my bent scissors. Okay, I'm going to bring this forward to me a little bit. Okay, there. I'm going to take out my pins. This is my pin cushion. This is my fabulous pin cushion. It is a pattern and a kit that you can also purchase on the On Point TV. There's this purple one, there's a red one, and there's a plaid one too. So if you're interested, you know how to get in touch with me. All right, so for this step, we need to remove some of this batting. This is 2 layers of batting, and when this gets pressed over, that would end up being 3 layers of batting. When we did the blocks, we were able to pre-trim, and when you go back into that video, and I'll tell you a little bit more, we'll have that link at the bottom, we use the fusible to keep everything in place, but when you're doing the rows, you can't do that. So we're not able to use the fusible for this. Instead, you're going to take scissors. Now this is a pair of embroidery scissors. You see how it's kind of bent like that? It's not absolutely necessary. It's just one of those tools that makes a step a little bit easier. This is something that embroiderers will use because that dip makes it possible to get inside their hoop and make some cuts. Well, it also works really great for this. I'm going to just trim the batting away, just that 1/4 inch of batting. And this will help keep it from being too bulky. I don't have to do it all, but you will get the idea there. And as you get going, you get a little bit of a pull on it. It's not too tedious of a job. And you see why these scissors do this too. Or if you have a pair of duck bill scissors, they have like literally the bottom one is got a bigger piece that comes out. That's another pair of scissors because they're also bent. Those would also do a nice job with this. I'm going to get over here. I'm going to try to get inside here and get some of that excess batting cut out. All right. Now I would continue the whole thing. We just don't have to do that right now. Now I'm going to remove the pins that were holding this back. Open it up. On the front side, well, you can see that pin that I put in place because remember, I do need to go back and oh my goodness, I did it wrong. My design is wrong, and that's going to be okay. It's still the rows going together, but I wanted the blue one on the other side, but please forgive me. Yes, my design, someday I'll finish it and actually show you the real one. So this is the row. Worked out very nicely, although I should have put it on the other end here so that the blue was twisted around. Okay, Now we're going to the back side. It's a new year, really, trust me, things will get better, right? There, okay. Now I'm to the back, from the back side. Okay, don't let me get right in your way, okay? And I'm going to iron this. While I'm ironing this, I'm going to iron it toward me, so that seam is going to come toward me. And I'm pulling the quilt. I want the front of it to be completely opened, so I'm pulling the quilt toward me as I bring my iron to that seam, and then give it a burst of steam and pause. Take your time here. No rushing when you're doing the pressing. And I think that's true all the time with quilt making. I think most people just kind of go through the process of the pressing much too fast. And if you ever watch any of my videos, you will know that I don't ever press fast. I take my time with it. All right. So now that seam is pressed toward me. Now I can take the backing and I'm going to fold this back 1/4 of an inch till it just covers. That's the line of stitching that I just sewed these rows together with. It's going to just cover it, and then I'll take some pins to hold it in place, and then this is what I will hand stitch. I have tried many a times to try to do it where I could do it by machine, thinking, oh, it would, it would be okay. It's not okay. It just doesn't look right. So I always hand stitch this down. So that's the idea. That's it. That's all. This was a quick video. For us, this was really quick if you've ever watched any of our live videos. So this is how you put the rows together. Thank you very much for all the people that made comments going, I like that video, Nancy, but you didn't show us how to do the rows. Anytime you've got questions like that, you want me to show you something else, put it in the comments, send me an email. My email is quiltingwithnancy@gmail.com. That's pretty easy to remember. You can find some of the products that I talked about in my Learning to Quilt book on our website, which is onpoint-tv. If you have any questions, you know how to contact me. Oh yeah, subscribe to the channel if you like this. I hope you did. Have a great afternoon.